Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our latest Railbookers webinar. Fantastic to have so many of you here joining us this Tuesday morning. I hope everybody is safe and well. I can see that we've actually still got a few people signing in as I speak. So hello to anyone who's just joining us. What we'll do is we'll just pause for around about another minute or so, just to allow those of you who are tuning in time to get settled down, comfortable, make sure the audio is working, the speakers are unmuted, and so on. And we'll start the webinar in around about another minute's time. In the meantime, if you'd like to say hello using the questions box on the screen, please do. It's nice to have all of you with us, as I say. And also, if you have questions either now or at any point, you can use that questions box to send some questions through. And if we have time, I'll try and pick one or two at the end of the webinar to answer. And don't worry if I don't pick yours, because one of the team will reach out and answer every single one over the next day or so, or one way or another. So we'll get round to everybody by hook or by crook. Everyone who asks a question will get it answered, don't worry. And hopefully we'll be able to pick one or two right at the end of the webinar today. So in the meantime, welcome to those of you just joining us. As I say, we'll start in around about another minute's time. So if you were in the middle of finishing off a cup of coffee or something, I think you've got time to do that quickly. And I'll see you back here in around about 1 minute's time. Thank you. Good morning once again to some of you, and welcome to those of you who've just joined us. Welcome to our latest Railbookers webinar. Fantastic to have all of you here with us today. Hope everybody is safe and well. Today's webinar is all about winter destinations by rail. We're going to look at some of our most popular holidays for travel to in the winter months. Of course, you can visit all of these destinations all year round, but we all think for different reasons that they work particularly well as winter holidays. So we'll take a look at some of those. Just to run through very briefly how the webinar is going to work today. We will start off with a very brief introduction, which is really for the benefit of anyone who's new to Railbookers, new to what we do. We'll just take a couple of minutes to explain that very briefly. Then we'll take a very slight detour for another minute or two, just to answer a question that we're getting asked all the time at the moment, really, which is over in mainland Europe, how are things working, how are things being kept as safe as possible. So we'll take a very brief detour to answer that. Then we'll start the main part of the webinar. We'll look at a selection of our most popular winter holidays, winter destinations, and then hopefully we'll have time for a question or two at the end. My name is Matt, that's me on the on the screen there, unfortunately. And it's my pleasure to be here with you on the webinar today. So let's make a start. First things first, I need to make you aware that if you see something that tickles your fancy today, or indeed if you have something else in mind, we do have a flash sale taking place at the moment where there's multiple destinations which have some great sale discounts in place. You can save up to £350, as you can see here, and the sale ends this Friday. That's the most important thing I need to let you know. So if you see something today, or you're already considering a holiday that you've seen online or that you've been speaking to one of the team about, you can make some big savings if you book before the end of the week. So if so, time to get your skates on and take advantage of those great savings. So, as promised, a very brief introduction just to explain for the benefit of anyone new to Railbookers. Perhaps this is your first webinar with us. Great to have you here if so. Just to explain a little bit about who we are and what we do. And firstly, just to explain a little bit about why people love going on holiday with us and traveling by train with us. And the answer to that is there isn't really just one answer. There's a number of different reasons. Firstly, it's the rail expert knowledge. As we like to say, we speak rail. We know everything, all the different ingredients that go into making the perfect rail holiday, from the best routes, the best combinations, everything that goes into ensuring that you've got the best holiday possible. And that holiday itself could really be any one of a number of different types of holiday. It could be a city break. It could be a multi-city or multi-country journey. It could be, a luxury rail experience, perhaps if you've got a special occasion coming up that you want to celebrate in style. It could be that you've got a river cruise booked for next year and you'd like to extend it by adding some travel on at the beginning of the trip or at the end. Or it could be creating a tailor-made rail itinerary. Whatever it might be, there's a large number of different types of holiday that you can experience traveling with us by train. And you can book and travel at any point from today up until 2023. So if you do have, that bucket list trip that you've been dying to do, as I say, could be a special occasion, could just be that you're traveling to a popular destination at a popular time of year, then you can go ahead and secure the space and the price, just as importantly, up to 2023. We've got you covered either way. And that really, the summary, I suppose, is as we say here, any destination, any date for any length of time. If the train goes there, then so do we. We have, as well as our website, we have a variety of digital brochures available, which you can access via railbookers.co.uk. And there's a number of different ones available this year. We've got our main Railbookers brochure with a selection of some of our top-selling holidays around from Europe and around the world as well. But we've also got a selection of themed brochures, as you can see here, ranging from holidays closer to home, UK and Ireland, for example, and indeed one focusing just on Scotland. So many great rail journeys and destinations on our doorstep that you can visit, as well as focusing some brochures focusing on luxury rail holidays, if you'd like to do something extra special, and cruise extensions, as I was mentioning before. So if you're looking for a bit of inspiration, there's lots of good reading available there. And just to let you know that we do offer maximum flexibility to customers who are booking new reservations. If you book up to and including the 30th of September this year, then if you need to, you've got the freedom to change dates, duration, or even the final destination of your holiday. Just ask your sales consultant for more details when you're making your booking. Now, one of the ways that we aim to take all of the complexity out of booking a rail holiday is that we work directly with all of the main rail operators for you on your behalf. So that's with some of our great friends and colleagues here, as you can see, around the globe. So, for example, in Europe, we've got Trenitalia in Italy, SNCF in France, Deutsche Bahn, Swiss Railways, Eurostar, where so many of our trips begin, of course, and across the pond with Via Rail in Canada, Amtrak in the USA, and many, many more too. And what does that mean? Well, excuse me, it means two things, actually. One is that we always have access to the best available fares and prices for you because we partner directly with all of the train operators themselves. And secondly, that's how we're able to offer all of these holidays up to 2 years in advance, as I say. And the crucial thing there is that if you are traveling at a peak time or for a special occasion, you get to lock your holiday in, and it's all confirmed at the current year's pricing too, which means you don't get subject to any price increases that might happen over the next 2 years. Right, that's the introduction out of the way. But firstly, before we look at the main part of the webinar, I did promise that we'd take a brief moment to look at this particular question. And the reason we've started looking at it on each webinar at the moment is, to be honest, because it's something that we're being asked an awful lot of the time on phone calls, emails, and on webinars like this one as well. And that question is how rail operators over in mainland Europe are maintaining a safe travel environment at the moment. And the answer to that is by doing a number of different things, some of which are quite similar to what's been happening in the UK. Others may differ very slightly, and we've selected a handful of things that they're all doing in common. There are certain countries where they're doing, perhaps a couple of extra things as well, but broadly speaking, these are the things that you'll see everywhere pretty much that you travel right now. Firstly, requirement for facial coverings in stations and on trains for all passengers and staff. The cleaning and sanitation measures that were already in place have been increased, and where possible, they're carrying out contactless ticket control through email and on apps via your phone, for example, just to keep the social distancing wherever it's possible to do so with the onboard staff. So that's just a couple of things that are in place at the moment. As I say, individual train operators may be carrying out a few extra things as well, just to keep everybody as safe as they can possibly be. But broadly speaking, that's what everywhere has in common right now. So hopefully for those of you who are interested in the answer to that particular question, that goes some way to explaining what's happening right now over in mainland Europe. And now it's time to start the main part of the webinar, of course, which is to look at some holidays that we think are absolutely perfect for travel to over the winter months. And the first one we'll look at is our holiday to Bruges and Ghent, two real highlights of Belgium. And this is ideal, perhaps, if you're looking for a holiday where you're heading abroad, but maybe not perhaps as much travel. Maybe it's the first holiday you'll have taken in a little while, as I know it might be for many of us. So perfect, as it's not a particularly long journey, and these two destinations are fantastic to travel to at any time of the year, but especially they've got a certain magic during the winter months, I think. So the journey can begin, well, it can begin at your local train station, first of all, if you'd like it to. We can arrange a travel down to London for you if you'd like that. And then you'll travel by direct Eurostar from London over to Brussels. That's around about 1 hour and 50 minutes. And then in Brussels, it's a straightforward change of platforms before you take a connecting train across to Bruges in Flanders. That's around about a 50-minute journey or so. And you'll spend 2 nights there and then take the very short train journey to Ghent. That's around about 15, 20 minutes or so. And then head back to Brussels after a 2-night stay in Ghent before heading back home once again. And for anyone who's perhaps not familiar with these destinations or not been there before, then this is some of the beautiful surroundings that await you heading to this part of the world. As you can see, it's a really, really couple of stunning destinations we've got here. This is Bruges, famous, of course, for many things, for the canals, the cobble streets, the chocolate, and the many beautiful medieval buildings, some of which you can see here, including the belfry, which dates back to the 13th century. Lots and lots of atmosphere, as hopefully you can see here that it is, whilst it is a year-round destination, it's particularly just got a special atmosphere in the winter months, and lots of great activities you can do, from trips out on the canals. You can do a trip around by horse and cart as well. And another really nice thing about Bruges, which again kind of ties in with the theme of if perhaps you don't want to travel too far, it's a really walkable destination once you get there as well. The train station is either slight, you can walk into the centre of Bruges actually from there, but it's a longish, probably about 15-20 minute walk, or a very short taxi journey. But once you've done that, everywhere is accessible on foot. It's just so easy to get around, and very easy to stroll around for a couple of days, take it all in. And all of the main places of interest are really close to each other. And for anyone who's not been, it's hopefully, as you get an indication from this beautiful picture that we're looking at right now, it is a really special place to go. And contrasted really well and complemented by a couple of nights in Ghent as well. As you can see here, Ghent's got a very similar vibe to it, similar atmosphere, similar architecture. It's got those wonderful canals once again. It feels slightly different. Ghent's a little bit larger, not overly so, not a huge city, but it's a little bit larger than Bruges. It's also a university city as well, so it's got a slightly different atmosphere to it. And one extra feature that Ghent has, which Bruges does not, is it has the 12th century Gravenstein Castle, which you can go and visit. Well worth a visit. And there's a couple of fantastic art museums there as well. But as you can see, these two destinations are very beautiful, wonderful architecture, wonderful canals, and it's perfect for a winter's breakaway. Lots and lots of atmosphere. And as I say, if you don't fancy too much travel, but you'd like to head overseas perhaps for the first time in a while, then this could be a wonderful option, I think. Okay, so next up, we'll move slightly further afield now, and we'll look at our holiday to Munich, Vienna, and Prague. So once again, the journey can begin either in London or at your local train station, whichever you prefer. And we start the journey off by heading to Brussels on the Eurostar, direct of course, and then from Brussels heading into Germany, heading over to Munich via a platform change in Frankfurt. And typically you would leave London in the morning around about 9 o'clock or so, and then arrive into Munich in the early evening. You'd have 2 nights there before heading into Austria via high-speed railjet train. Very comfortable indeed, very modern. 2 nights in the Austrian capital, and then you take another railjet train into the Czech Republic, where you'd spend 2 nights in the Czech capital, Prague. Then you'd have a choice. You can either fly back to the UK, or you can head back to the UK by rail. Normally, I think on this itinerary we have an overnight journey onto Zurich, and then connecting travel via Paris back to London from there. So let's take a closer look at the great destinations that are involved in this particular holiday. And first up, we're in Bavaria with Munich, and this is Marienplatz, just in the heart of the old town area, and lots to discover in this great destination. Lots and lots of history. This is perhaps in many ways, the kind of one of the center point of the city, you could say, with some of the wonderful old architecture here. Some of my other favorite parts of Munich are the Englischer Garten, which is a really lovely park area in the northern part of the city. Fantastic to visit at any time of year, and great to have a stroll and a wander around. And there's the famous Hofbrauhaus as well, which you might like to visit, where you can enjoy, I think it was enjoy, not endure, the umpire bands that play there, and have some of the traditional beer and Bavarian food that accompanies it as well. So lots of great things that you can get up to in this beautiful part of the world. And then very easy high-speed train over to Vienna next, as I mentioned. And we've talked about great architecture, great buildings. Well, Vienna has got so many examples of them. On this particular holiday, we include trips to a number of interesting examples of this theme. One of them is the Belvedere, which you can see here. And this historic building consists of 2 Baroque palaces, and it's set in a really beautiful parkland area. And it's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And also today, it's one of the world's leading museums with works of art ranging from the Middle Ages to the present day. So lots and lots to see and discover there. We also include a trip out to the Schonbrunn Palace, which is the former summer residence of the Habsburgs. Again, lots and lots of history there. And Vienna is just absolutely crammed full of just wonderful, wonderful buildings, lots and lots of history from the Opera Building, St. Stephen's Cathedral, the Hofburg Palace, the Schönbrunn Palace, as I've mentioned, the Belvedere, as you can see here, just absolutely beautiful. And one other thing that you absolutely must do when you're in Vienna is try some of the famous Sacca torta, which is our local delicacy. It's not very good for you, but it does taste very nice. And particularly, during the colder winter months, it would be quite restorative, I think, would be a very nice way to perhaps line your stomach ready for some sightseeing activities and exploring in the later in the day, perhaps. But an absolutely beautiful destination, as those of you who've been there before will no doubt agree, I'm sure. I should mention at this point that there's a number of different ways that you can choose to customize or upgrade any of the holidays that you pick with us. And one of those is by upgrading your hotel stay. Here we've got an example of how you could do that. This is one of our favorites in Vienna. This is the Hilton Vienna Plaza, which is a really nice upgraded option. And as you can see here, it has some rooms with these lovely outdoor terraces that you can enjoy breakfast. Perhaps maybe not throughout the winter months. December might be a little bit parky out there, I think, mightn't it? But you've got some great views, as you can see over the rooftops. You can see, I think that's St. Stephen's Cathedral and the distance there, and a really nice way of making your trip just that little bit more special. So just to explain in a little bit more detail about how that can work, all of the holidays that we feature each holiday will be based on a particular hotel in each destination, which typically is going to be 3 or 4 star in most holidays. However, if you would like to upgrade to perhaps say a 5-star hotel, or change a 3-star to a 4-star, whatever it might be, then we can do that in as many destinations as you'd like to. For example, we often find people who are going away to celebrate a particular special occasion, maybe it's a birthday, an anniversary, something like that, and they'd like to make the anniversary or birthday date extra special, and they might like to upgrade the hotel in that one destination just to do something special, as I say. And you can, by all means, do that. You don't need to upgrade the entire trip if you don't want to. It could just be one hotel in one destination. It could be all of them. You might like to, travel in style throughout, which is, of course, perfectly possible too. All you need to do is let us know, what you'd like to do, where you'd like to upgrade, and what the options are, and we can talk through and explain all the different options that are available to you. And after Vienna, you'll head on again by high-speed train to one of my favorite destinations, and this is Prague. And I love this shot heading over the Charles Bridge, heading over the Vltava River, because it really kind of shows off some of the best parts of the city, I think. And for anyone who's been there, you might remember that Prague is almost in 2 parts, really, bisected by the river. You've got the old town district on one side, and then the castle district on the other. And the old town, of course, is home to, amongst other things, the fantastic astronomical clock, which people always queue up to wait and watch for it to chime, because every time as it chimes, which I think is every quarter of an hour, I think, these wonderful little hand-carved figures come out and enact a little scene, and then they go back into the clock again, and then everybody waits for it to chime again so they can go back and see the next installment once the clock rings. So absolutely wonderful to sit and watch for a couple of chimes at least. And it's a really nice way of traveling between the 2 parts of the city, crossing over the Charles Bridge, as you can see here. There's often artists that are lining the side of the bridge who will do your portrait or a caricature if you'd like them to, and lots of other fun activities normally taking place as well. So a great destination at any time of the year. But again, I think it's the architecture for me as much as anything with all these places that they just have that extra atmosphere in winter, and they just seem to just have that extra appeal, which is really fantastic at that time of year. So a slightly longer trip than the first one we looked at, but again, a couple of destinations that are absolutely perfect to visit any time of year, but extra special, we think, in winter. And next up, we have something slightly different in that it's a slightly new combination that we've put together relatively recently, based on popular requests, really, to travel to this part of the world. And this is our highlights of the Black Forest region, which includes Strasbourg, Freiburg, and Basel. So three different countries, all exploring that magnificent part of the world, the Black Forest. So how does it work? Well, we start off once again with a high-speed Eurostar journey, this time to Paris. And then from Paris, it's the relatively short journey to Strasbourg for a two-night stay. Plenty of opportunity to explore the Petite France area and some of the other highlights of that wonderful city. And then it's a really short journey after that, as you can see on the map, to Freiburg, which is a fascinating destination itself, but also more importantly, or even more importantly, perhaps for this particular holiday, it's the gateway to the Black Forest itself. And we offer the option to take a full day excursion, taking you around some of the highlights, some of the most beautiful sites that you can visit in the Black Forest. Then a short journey to Switzerland for a two-night stay in a beautiful Basel or Basel, depending if you're more of a francophone than a Germanic inclination. And you have two nights there, including a panoramic views over the Rhine that you'll get to enjoy, and you can also take a private walking tour of Basel or Basel to explore in more detail. So let's take a closer look at all of these great destinations now. And first up, we have Strasbourg, and this is a really interesting destination, I think. This is probably for me, the most beautiful part of the city. This is the Petite France area, which is highlighted by the canals that you can see here, and also these beautiful timber buildings. And one of the things that think makes Strasbourg so interesting is that because of its geographical location, it's got a real mix of different flavors of France and Germany because it's almost on the border between the two. And you get a lot of that in the cuisine. If you go out to a local restaurant, you will get a lot of German dishes as well as French dishes. And it really has just that real sort of cosmopolitan flavor as a result of that. Um, and this, as you can see here, this is a beautiful part of the city to wander around and explore. Very easily accessible on foot, and just beautiful buildings and beautiful surroundings. So it makes it a great start to the trip. And again, as you can see here, I mean, hopefully it's coming across from these great photos. But really, at winter time, as you can see here, with a touch of snow in the foreground there, they really just do come alive and have their own special atmosphere. And then next up, we head into Germany proper, and we visit Freiburg as the next port of call. And this is a real vibrant university town with, again, a famous medieval centre, which you can see here. Again, lots of atmosphere, lots of history, lots to discover. Very easy to explore on foot once again. And as I mentioned before, even more importantly than being an interesting destination, it is also the gateway to explore the Black Forest. And we include a full day tour out to be taken around the highlights of the Black Forest region, including this wonderful destination, Lake Titisee in Titisee Neustadt. Real beautiful spot in the heart of the Black Forest. Originally, the lake was formed during the Ice Age, I think, so it's been here a long time. And just lots and lots of natural beauty. And it's a great way to explore the Black Forest on this particular tour, because you're taking around all of the highlights, and you've got time to go for a wander and explore, take some photos, and all of those things. But a beautiful, beautiful part of the world to visit. And then we finish our three-country extravaganza here by heading across the border into Switzerland. Again, quite a short journey from Freiburg and heading over to Basel. Again, we've got another beautiful medieval old town with a wonderful 12th century Gothic cathedral, which you can see here, and a great location on the banks of the River Rhine once again. We include a walking tour here again, so you can get to visit all of the highlights and beautiful parts of the city centre. And it really is one of those underrated destinations, I think. And the three different distinct destinations in three different countries, but also close together, that we visit on this particular holiday: Strasbourg, Freiburg, and Basel. They just complement each other really, really well, I think. And so if you're looking for something perhaps a little bit different as a winter holiday, maybe this one could fit the bill. Who knows? Because perhaps not the first three destinations that trip off the tongue, but we think they're well worth a visit, especially in the winter time, and some fantastic destinations to explore. Now, if we're talking winter, well, there's one destination that we absolutely have to mention, don't we? And of course, that's Switzerland. There's so many great Swiss holidays that we have on our website, featuring some of the most beautiful train journeys in the world, some fantastic destinations. And so today we thought, rather than pick one of the old favourites that we visit periodically on these webinars, we'd perhaps look at one that we don't always talk about, but just to show off something a little bit different, but with some very popular inclusions, of course. And this is the Swiss mountain peaks, the Jungfrau and the Gornergrat. And if we're thinking winter in Switzerland, well, mountains and snow are obviously two things that we might be expecting or hoping to see. And this holiday really does feature all of those in abundance. So once again, starting from London, it would be a direct Eurostar to Paris, and then a high-speed train into Switzerland, to Basel or Zurich, and then the really short connection onto Interlaken from there. We'd have a 2-night stay in Interlaken, and on the second day, you'd have the day trip to the Jungfrau Joch, where you'd be able to enjoy absolutely amazing views from the top of Europe via the Jungfrau Mountain Railway. After that, it's a short journey down to the resort of Zermatt, which is real picture postcard Switzerland, absolutely beautiful for a 2-night stay. And you'd have another day trip up the world famous Gornergrat Railway, which is the highest open air railway in Europe, and the best place for wonderful views of the Matterhorn mountain, absolutely beautiful. And then you finish things off by heading by train along the shores of Lake Geneva, spending an overnight stop in Geneva itself before returning to London via Paris. And I think this goes to show why, even though this picture wasn't taken in the wintertime, why we automatically think of this country when we talk about holidays in the winter months, because it's absolutely stunning in terms of scenery, surroundings. The name Interlaken itself literally means between the lakes. And here we're actually looking down on Interlaken and its location in between Lake Thun and Lake Brienz. And as you can see here, there's many great activities you can do all year round surrounding Interlaken, in and around the city, the town itself, to make the most of the wonderful scenery and the stunning backdrop. You can take trips out by boat across the lake as well. Lots and lots of lakes, rather. Lots and lots of great activities that you can get up to. And what a great location, surrounded by mountains and the 2 lakes either side. On the second day in Interlaken, you would take the trip up the Jungfrau Railway. One of the nice things about these is you can make them as long or as, relatively speaking, as short as you'd like them to do. But it's a real must-do trip in this part of the world. It is absolutely spectacular. Unlike many other of the famous train journeys in Switzerland, it isn't actually one train at all. It's actually a combination of small cogwheel trains that leave climb from Interlaken and then head up into some of the mountainous villages and ski resorts above Interlaken. You would often head up via somewhere like Grindelwald, and then if you want to, you can leave the train for a little while there and go for a walk or a stroll up in the mountains, taking lungfuls of that wonderful Swiss air. Perhaps have some lunch or a coffee, whatever it might be, and then you would head back and catch another train slightly further up the mountain once again. And all of these stations are really, really small. So literally, it's a case of walking from platform 1 to platform 2. Very, very easy to do. And then you take the final train that goes right through the heart of the glacier itself, and then comes out right at the top of the mountain. There's a obligatory photo stop, first of all, with a sign telling you you've reached the top of Europe, the highest train station in Europe, and then you can walk outside as a viewing platform, and on a clear day, you can see as far as into the Black Forest, into France, into Germany. Just absolutely stunning, and just amazing to be that high up. There's a couple of birds normally flying around there, but otherwise, just the vast expanse of snowy mountain peaks in front of you. It is absolutely special. It is real must do, as I say, in that part of the world. And then when you come back down again, there's actually a couple of different options you can do now. What we used to recommend was heading up one side of the mountain and down the other. But as of late last year, you can actually now take a cable car part of the way down, actually go over the top of the mountain range itself for part of the journey, which is pretty special and gives you some absolutely amazing views, even for someone as cowardly as me who's terrified of heights. It looks absolutely stunning. And as I say, only opened right at the end of last year. So for obvious reasons, not too many people have got to experience it as of yet, unfortunately. But an extra special way of doing it, and means you can take the cogwheel trains up one way, go through the heart of the glacier, and then on the other direction, you can take the first train down to, say, Grindelwald, and then you can take the cable car going right over all the way back down again, which is just and adds another dimension to it. If like me, you're a bit of I've got a bit of vertigo and I don't fancy being up that high, of course you can still take the cogwheel trains in both directions, which is absolutely fantastic. It really is stunning, particularly, as I say, if you go up a different route in each way, which is what we always recommend. There's a great waterfall by Lauterbrunnen, for example, that you go past, and it's just nice to experience two different types of scenery. But however you do it, it's a really memorable experience. As well as the viewing platform at the top, there's a restaurant, there's a cafe, bar, lots of other activities you can do. There's an ice palace up there, but really it's all about the journey itself to get there. And the great views from the summit as well. So it's an absolute must do. And then after you leave Interlaken behind, you head to Zermatt. And Zermatt, as I mentioned before, is real picture postcard Switzerland. And again, you can see hopefully here why this is a great winter destination. It's just got that wonderful feel to it, hasn't it? And it's all nestling in the footsteps of the famous Matterhorn mountain that you can see in the background there, towering over the town of Zermatt. Interestingly, Zermatt is completely car-free as well. So again, it just kind of adds to that quaint, wonderfully old-fashioned, I should say, experience in it. It does feel a little bit like traveling back in time in a certain way. The hotels, if you ask your hotel, a lot of them have these kind of almost like little golf buggy things that they'll come and collect you from the train station in when you arrive, because there's no taxis or anything like that. So it is a pretty special experience. And the best way of enjoying the Matterhorn mountain, the spectacular views there, is to take a trip, as you do on this particular holiday, up the famous Gornergrat Railway, which is the Jungfrau is the highest railway in Europe, but as we mentioned, it goes through the heart of the glacier right at the end. The Gornergrat is the highest open-air railway in Europe, and it was originally created back in the 19th century, and at that point, it was the world's first fully electric cog railway. And the highlights of the journey are are many really. One of them is that you get stunning views of the Matterhorn throughout the ascent, as you can see here. You don't just see it at the top, you actually get some great views of it as you're climbing up the mountain itself. And then once you get to the summit, you have this amazing 360-degree panorama of 29 different mountain peaks. So it's not just the Matterhorn, as wonderful as that is, but you get these wonderful 29 mountain peaks, all of them over 4,000 meters high. It's just a really special view. And again, you can spend as much time as you want at the top. You can go for, there's a cafe up there, restaurant. You can go for, walks, hikes if you're more adventurous. Lots going on. And also for a lot of the year, you also, on the way up and down, you'll get to see mountain ibex running up and along the mountain slopes next to the train as well, which is pretty special too. So two similar but also very, very different journeys on this particular holiday. But they really are, well as scenic train journeys, they also just are ways to experience the natural beauty of the two regions that you're staying in. As I say, for Zermatt, this is the best way to see the Matterhorn by far. For the Jungfrau, you're at literally at the top of Europe and get these fantastic views over the surrounding mountains down to Interlaken and beyond, even across the border into France and Germany. So they're pretty stunning. And I think you don't really need me to tell you why we recommend these as winter holidays, do you? I mean, just fantastic at any time of year, but got that special something if you travel during the winter months. And moving on to slightly different part of Europe now, and look at a couple of holidays that maybe will get you a little bit more winter sun, perhaps too. This next one is our holiday to Florence via the Swiss Alps, and it's that perfect combination to me that you're looking for with a rail holiday, ideally, in that you'd like a great destination to visit, of course, and ideally a memorable or scenic journey to get there. And this definitely ticks both boxes. So once again, we can start either at your local train station or in London with a high-speed Eurostar journey over to Paris. And then from Paris, it's a simple change of trains before taking the high-speed train around about 3 hours, 20 minutes or so to Geneva. Geneva is the perfect place to break the journey and have an overnight stop, perhaps a chance to enjoy dinner by the lake. And then the next morning, you'll have a wonderful scenic train journey once again, traveling through the stunning Swiss Alps along the Schonbrunn Palace route between Switzerland and Italy. You have a 3-night stay in Florence, of course, our main destination, where you will have a tour of the Accademia included on this particular holiday. There's so much to see in that part of the world. And then you can either take a really short train journey to Pisa, perhaps have a quick look at the Leaning Tower before flying home from there, or if you prefer, you can head up to Turin for an overnight stay, have an overnight stay there and time to explore before taking the train back through the French Alps to Paris the next morning, and then from Paris on to London. And Geneva is the first port of call. This is where you would spend your first overnight on the holiday, and it's a perfect place to break the journey. All of the hotels that we feature are in the Old Town area, quite close to the station, and also close to the lake. You can see the famous jet d'eau spurting up into the skyline at the back of the screen there. And it's a really nice thing to do after or before enjoying an evening meal, perhaps close to the lake, going for a wander along the shores of Lake Geneva in the evening. And then the next day, you have one of those wonderful rail journeys that Switzerland just delivers on time and time again. And this is the Schonbrunn Pass route between Switzerland and Italy. It's the route that the Orient Express takes when it travels in between the two. And as you can see here, well, we really do tick the boxes of everything you want to see. Great countryside, those wonderful alpine backdrops, the mountains, and you also get some great lake views as well. When you actually start the journey, the first thing you do is go around the shores of Lake Geneva. And as you enter Italy, you get some great views of Lake Maggiore as well. So really does have everything you want from a scenic rail journey. And then, of course, like I said before, we have a great destination at the end of it all too. Florence, the home of the Renaissance, of course. Again, so much history. We've got the Ponte Vecchio here over the Arno, which is almost like a living museum itself. And one of the things I love about Florence is that, again, it's a really, really walkable destination for anyone who hasn't been. You might possibly, depending where you're staying, want to take a taxi from the train station to your hotel. But after that, you can pretty much do everything on foot. You don't really need public transport or taxis or anything like that. And there's just everywhere you look, there's something to admire, from the wonderful buildings. There's lots of open air statues, fountains. It just has everything. And if you'd like a little bit of hopefully some winter sunshine, perhaps escape the cold in the UK, then this could be a really nice winter holiday as well. And another nice thing to do is it's that part of the world, it's normally a lot milder, as I say, than it is here. So it's still really pleasant to visit, wander around, and explore. And it's, to be honest, quieter than it is during the spring and summer months. So really nice part of the year to visit. Many years ago now, about more years ago than I care to remember it, that it is I think about 10 or 12 years ago. I was actually in Florence and Venice in January. And in Venice, literally I was walking across Zermatt Square disturbing the pigeons because it was just so much quieter than at other times of year. And it was just really, really mild and really, really enjoyable, and a very nice time of year to go and visit. So Italy at that time of year, perfect for milder weather, beautiful destinations, and perhaps, if you're lucky, a little bit of winter sun as well. Again, just a reminder that you might choose to upgrade your hotel in any of these destinations. And here's a lovely example of how you can do that in Florence. This is the Villa San Michele, which used to be a medieval monastery at one time, and it's located in the hills overlooking Florence. And if you are really looking to make your holiday extra special, there's lots of nice ways that you can do that, and this is a great example of that, I think. And continuing with our theme of winter sun, perhaps we'll look next at this holiday to Aix-en-Provence and Avignon. Again, this is really nice destinations to visit at any time of year, but again, just for a slightly milder climate and a quieter time to visit, this is a really nice time to head over to this part of the world. So once again, beginning either at London or your local train station, we start off with normally Eurostar to Paris, and then from there, it always amazes me when I talk about this, actually, if you look at Aix-en-Provence on the map, which is our first port of call, it's 3 hours and 4 minutes by high-speed train from Paris to Aix, which I always think is pretty incredible, really. And then we spend 2 nights in the heart of the Provençal region here, with its beautiful old town. And then you take the very, very short train journey to Avignon for another 2 night stay to explore there before heading back to London via Paris or Lille once again. And here's another example of why it's such a beautiful destination, X. And again, I think why it's just got that certain something in the winter. Again, hard to describe exactly what it is, but I just think it's all to do with the architecture, really. Here you can see the famous clock tower next to the town hall, but it's a very, very beautiful destination. It's a university city. Was the birthplace of the painter Cézanne, and in fact, one of the absolute highlights of Aix, I think, is the main street, the main thoroughfare, which is called the Cours Mirabeau, and it's this really beautiful tree-lined streets with interesting shops and cafes and restaurants lining the sides of the street, and fountains at either end. There's a huge fountain at one end, and you've got a very, very famous historic cafe called the Les Deux Garçons, which used to be frequented by Cézanne and Émile Zola once upon a time they were regular visitors. I think Winston Churchill used to spend some time there as well when he was on holiday in that part of the world as well. So all three of them weren't there at the same time, but they were some of the more famous visitors, and the cafe is still there today. And it's just a really beautiful, atmospheric part of the world to visit. And as I say, after visiting Aix, it's a really short train journey to Avignon. Again, it's high speed, so you're there in no time at all, really. And you get to visit the famous walled city, which originally, once upon a time, was the seat of the Catholic popes, and it actually remained under papal rule until 1791. And the symbol of this period, of course, as we can see here, is the Palais des Papes, right in the centre of Avignon, surrounded by the famous medieval stone ramparts. And of course, you can go there and have an explore and a tour around, and you can head out across the famous bridge as well. And again, lots of history, great food, great wine, and just like when we talk about Italy, really a milder climate during the winter months, and a chance to explore with perhaps fewer tourists, fewer people around, and it still has so much beauty. And again, I think just has that something that little bit special during the winter months. Again, hard to put your finger on exactly what it is, but just has that wonderful atmosphere to it. And so another example of a great trip that you can do any time of the year, but it's got that special something if you travel during the winter. So that brings us almost to the end of the webinar. Time is marching on. It's nearly 11 o'clock, but not quite. And let's see if we can answer a question or two from some of those questions that have come through. So see if we can pick one or two now. I've got lots of people asking about other destinations, got people asking about other places in Switzerland. Colin asking, are there any trips to Copenhagen? Yes, Colin, there definitely are. Trips to Copenhagen and other parts of Scandinavia as well. You can find all of those destinations on our website, railbookers.co.uk. I've got a question here asking about how much luggage you can take with you, and that is from Linda. Hello there, Linda. And the short answer to that, Linda, is if you travel by train in both directions, as you can do on all of these holidays, of course, then there aren't really that many restrictions in place at all. The official requirement from Eurostar is that you can take 2 items of luggage per person plus 1 item of hand luggage. And to be honest, I don't really think you can carry too much more than that, can you? So pretty ample. The other great thing is if you are planning on stocking up on souvenirs, presents, gifts for family, friends, souvenirs, the trip for yourself, whatever it might be, no one's going to weigh your luggage at any point. So if it's substantially heavier on the way back than it was when you went out, nobody will mind. So another nice little advantage of traveling by train there. Okay, we have a question from Peter asking if all of these holidays are available to book 2 years out, and the answer to that one is yes, Peter. Everything you see here, like all of the other holidays that we offer, you can book at any point traveling from, well, now essentially, but whether you want to travel this winter, travel next year, available all year round up to 2 years in advance. Okay, that's probably just about all we've got time for. It's 5 to 11 by my watch. And thank you to everyone who submitted a question. If I didn't manage to get around to yours, don't worry, because as I mentioned before, one of the team will reach out to you to make sure we've answered every single one. So we'll answer them all by one way or the other. Okay, so thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Getting ahead of myself this morning. I hope you've all enjoyed the webinar, found it useful, perhaps some ideas and food for thought for some future trips, perhaps, and maybe it brought back some happy memories if you visited one of these destinations before as well. Hope you're all safe and well. Please do stay that way. Look after yourselves. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and hopefully we'll get to have the pleasure of your company on another webinar in the not too distant future. Thanks a lot and have a great day.